everyone, and welcome, of course, to day 3 of the AFC Cup 2020, organized by Dynamic Concepts. And of course, joining me today for this very special interview is none other but the best of the best that has represented Australia, an icon that has played for Everton, Tim Cahill. Tim, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this very special interview. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
And, we want to go through your whole football history. So let's start from the very beginning of your journey. What was your first experience with football? How did you fall in love with the game?
I think ever since I was aware of that a ball was in the house as a baby, I reckon 2-3 years old, I used to see pictures of me kicking a ball. And then growing up through the age groups, my dad's from England, so he's a massive football supporter, which he's actually a West Ham supporter. And everywhere around the house, there was always balls. So through the elements of growing up and kicking a ball and not really knowing, it was about probably 10 years old when I thought to myself, watching TV, watching my dad watch English Premier League, Italian Serie A, World Cups. It just started to grow. And I love the feeling of playing with a group of friends, my cousins, winning, scoring goals, not scoring goals. And it just grew from there. But my dad definitely had a massive influence with being English. And in Australia, it is a big game, but it's not the number one sport. So it's sort of like those elements that I learned more about the game as I got older. But I knew very young and very early that I was going to be a professional footballer.
It's mind-blowing to know that at such a young age, you've already saw that you were going to be a football player. And of course, at the young age of 16, you moved to England to pursue your football career. So take us through having to make such a brave and bold decision at such a young age. What gave you really that strength to follow your dreams?
Okay, so I think the elements of what happened in Australia was really important from the age of 12 to 16. I was a late developer. So basically, I wasn't the tallest. I wasn't the strongest. I was one of the smallest in my team. I always had the elements when I played to score goals, to be around the ball, to do some good things in little elements of the game. But I was quite timid. I was shy. I was within myself. But what I did is I formalized a training program, and I spoke to my parents, and it happened after I was told that I was too small and I'll never make it. And what that did is I was in the bedroom doing sit-ups and push-ups. I was trying to change my running style so I can become more efficient. I was watching more football. I basically went to school, completed all my schoolwork, because if I didn't do my schoolwork, I wasn't allowed to go training. And then when I was at training, I trained like it was the last ever training session of my life. So before we go to the elements of being a professional and leaving at 16, I knew that I had to work that little bit harder because I was told I'll never make it. It's not a realistic dream. So from there, one day I got home from school and I wasn't playing in the highest level in Australia. And my mum and dad sat me down. They said, "Listen, son, this is the time. In a few weeks, you have the opportunity to travel to England to stay with our parents, my mum's side of the family, in just outside London." And I was like, fantastic, but you won't get the trial straight away, So I was like, well, this is the opportunity. But the thing that always sticks with me, and even till this day being retired, is the sacrifice my parents did. They rented their whole life. They had to get a loan out. There was a big responsibility for me as an individual to appreciate that, the hard work. And that's been a beautiful scar that I've carried all the way through my career. So after all the waiting in England, after training at the park by myself for months, and then getting that trial, the 2 weeks at all was unbelievable, because everything that my parents and my brothers and my sister had worked for in investing in me, it's not about repaying back. It's about being the best I could be with the opportunities and sharing this with the kids so they can understand the value of what our parents do. So it was a long journey. It's not like you got WhatsApp now and mobile phones and FaceTime. It was, it was tough, and it was really an element that I like to share with children, to understand the processes and the levels that you have to get to just to get the opportunity to try.
And of course, it's really interesting how you put that, and how your family really played such a big factor into helping you become the player and the person that you are today. And now let's talk about the Premier League. Obviously, the Premier League is arguably the best league in the world. And of course, the ultimate goal for many football players. You started out with Millwall, but you really had your break with Everton. What do you think did it take for you to make that big step up and play for such a big club?
Consistency. Before I left to sign for Millwall, a lot of Premier League clubs were interested. With Millwall, the year that I left, we just got to the FA Cup final. We played against Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo, Roy Keane, Giggs, but Beckham, all the top players in the world. This was a time where I was very young. The semi-final was my final because I scored the winner at Old Trafford against Sunderland to get us to the final. But that's when I started to get on the map. When I was bought and I went to Everton, this was after 250 games, second division, first division, championship, whatever it may be, learning my trade, sticking by, being loyal to the club that gave me my opportunity, and then now ready to step straight into the limelight and own it. So it was amazing because not only when I signed for Everton, it was exciting because I was going to be playing with Wayne Rooney, young kid just coming onto the scene. I signed for roughly £1.5 million, and then they sold Wayne Rooney 2 days later, and I couldn't believe it. But we had a lot of club legends. We had a lot of players within the group. And that year we finished fourth. I scored over double digits in my first season. I exceeded all expectations. But I was so excited to prove all the hard work, all the sacrifices, my family. And this was the reward. And after that, the rest is history, because then there's World Cups, then there's finishing sixth, then there's Europe, then there's more goals, then there's so many amazing moments throughout my career to play in the biggest league in the world, which was my dream from day one.
Definitely amazing to see how you really took advantage of every opportunity. And of course, we are live now, and we have a couple of questions from the audience. They want to know more about you. This one comes from Kazing. Hi, Tim. Amazing to see you here. I'd like to ask how you imagine your former colleagues in the EPL to be feeling when they are playing now without any spectators?
What an amazing question. Because it is so difficult. I was just at the Man United Arsenal game live, covering the game, Sky Sports, and we were on the panel. We could see the pitch, no fans, so close to the managers and the players, and it's a different feeling. It's something we have to adapt to because it's the pandemic. With fans, they change the whole dynamic. The way you press, the way that the flow of the game moves, the goals, even when you celebrate, it has a different feeling. But I suppose we have to be really careful with letting fans back in. England's going into lockdown now in a few days, full lockdown. And the most beautiful thing about it is the football's on, so at least we get to share it with the fans around the world. So the players are feeling it. And it's not the same, but we have to adapt. But it's an amazing question.
Definitely. And we also have another question, since we're talking about the Premier League, from Nang Sowi. Tim, do you think Everton will finish in the top 4 this season?
Please. They've had an amazing start to the season. I'm a massive Ancelotti fan. I'm very lucky. I spend a lot of time within the club. Now, last season, I was with the under-16s as assistant manager, doing my A license in around the academy, around the young players, in around the club where the first team is. And Ancelotti is doing an amazing job stabilising the club, signing some world-class players, Alan, Decore, James Rodriguez. So things are on the up. At the moment, Everton had 2 defeats, which isn't great, but at the same time, still equals second in the table. And I feel we have the opportunity to finish 4th. So fingers crossed, we can do it this season.
Fingers crossed. And of course, as we continue to talk about, you mentioned, of course, managers. And another question from our YouTube page was from Chua Menkiat. Who is the best manager that you had, and what are the qualities that set them apart?
Wow, I'm on my coaching journey now, and now I'm starting to understand different elements about all the managers that I've worked with. I'm very lucky because during all the World Cups, I worked under managers like Gus Hiddink, Bert van Marwijk, Pim Verbink, Van Bommel was part of that squad, Johan Nayskins, Ange Postecoglou. But I think on an overall aspect of who I was the closest with, because I spent 8 years with him, I'd have to say David Moyes. At Everton together, right now he's at West Ham, previously Manchester United. He's still someone that I talk to till this day. But one of the elements with inside that is the way he treated my family, my wife, my kids, my parents, the way he treated me, not only as a footballer, but as a person, which goes more than football. Football is an amazing game, but after football, there's life. And that's what I enjoy the most, is being able to sit here, share these stories, share my experiences to help give growth and aspirations and inspirational words for the kids to look forward to following their dreams. So I'd have to say he's played a massive part in my career, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I stayed there so long.
And of course, as you mentioned, that it's really amazing when a manager can do that. They not only leave an impact in your life on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And let's go back to you. And of course, you found the back of the net more or less 68 times over 8 impressive seasons at Everton. You've also been known to be fearless, as well as a player that delivers in big matches. What do you think is the key mindset or key mindsets to be able to perform when the stakes are high?
Key mindset for me, it's very simple, is I started with nothing. And my expectation was to leave everything on the pitch and to over-deliver with my work rate, with my passion. As you say, being fearless is important because my mum's from Samoa, a little island, from a small village. My dad's from England. As I said, I always go back to my family. And when you start with nothing and you get the opportunity to have a shot at the title, you keep giving everything. If you hit rosette, don't worry. One day it's going to hit the back of the net, and that's the day that you'll know why it's worth it. So things don't happen by luck. They happen because you dream about it. They happen because you train. They happen because you have that feeling. So my job is inspire you kids to follow your dreams. And if I can do it, then you have every chance, because I am one of millions of kids that give up because of maybe, not following it, not having enough confidence. So I want to give kids confidence. I want to be a good ambassador, and I want to share how hard it was for me still to be the best I could be. But I hit the back of the net because of my work rate, and I loved every minute of it.
Definitely. And the comments just keep coming from everyone online watching us live. I'm going to throw you a bit of a controversial question from Lo Widgie. Do you think that the current implementations of VAR in the Premier League is ruining the game, especially the fact that the final decision is not made on the field, but in the VAR room, the VAR room?
I've done so many games where there's been so many controversial decisions. And for me, it's difficult because we take the game where what you see and how it happens and the emotions, like, you score and then you stop because you don't know whether to celebrate. Then you have to wait for VAR. I think the other side of it as well, because it's part of the rules and having to talk about it, we just have to follow protocol. And whatever the rules are, handball, offside, it's really difficult to understand as an ex-player, and also very difficult for fans. And it's a controversial question, but it's something that I think everyone should talk about, because when you lose that moment of passion and emotion and the feeling within the game, and it gets paused and you wait 2 minutes, it does take the effect out of it. And I know it's affecting the game, but at the same time, hopefully now referees can make the decision on the pitch. They can look at it, and they can have the whistle instead of, someone sitting in a box and making a subjective decision through the processes. And this is the new way of football. So that is a really, really good question.
Definitely. It's more really just have to adjust to whatever is given to us at the moment. And, after playing in England for over 14 years, you made another transition moving to America to play in the MLS. What for you were the main differences between playing in the Premier League and the MLS?
This was amazing. This is at a time, 32 years old. I want to play in more World Cups. I want Australia to do well in Asian Cups. I want Australia to qualify for more World Cups. And being in the Premier League for so long and playing 40 to 60 games a season, flying back to Australia, coming back, it was hard on the body. And you have to keep a level for so long that people expect goals, training, traveling. And I needed a little bit of a reset in the fact that if I'd stayed at Everton, I probably would have had to retire. It's a conversation that I've had before, which would have been amazing, and retired at 35, 36. But I had an opportunity to go to New York Red Bulls and to play with one of the best players in the world, and my dear friend still now, Thierry Henry. It was a massive opportunity. First, it's the MLS. It was a time when Thierry Henry, David Beckham are going to a whole new world, helping a league progress, improve it, the commercial side, the business. I'd never seen or experienced anything like it. The stadiums are amazing. America's amazing. The whole ethos of the fans. I really loved it. And I got to play with Rafa Marquez from Barcelona, Juninho Pernambucano, a Brazilian legend, and so many different players, and afterwards you see Steven Gerrard, you see some of the biggest players in the world, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Robbie Keane in the league. And I thought it's amazing for my wife and kids to live, in New York, to experience it. It's amazing for me. And that decision was part of me playing in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, which we qualified. And I had some amazing moments there, scoring goals, and then also winning an Asian Cup in Australia. So it paid off, but more importantly, the MLS was amazing for me. That it's an experience still to this day that I have such a close relationship with America and obviously the MLS. So I loved every minute of it.
Interesting to hear that. And of course, you're a player that has played all over the world: England, US, China, Australia, and India. And we have another question as well from our fans who are joining us live. This one comes from Joe Rai. You made your debut in the ISL with Jamshedpur FC. How was your experience in India? And do you have issues adapting to the food or the culture there?
No issues, no experiences of any bad times in India. It actually made me really appreciate my career. I was treated amazingly well. I signed for Jamshedpur FC, and that was part of the Tata group. And the most beautiful thing about it is I got to help not only deliver grassroots programs in the local schools, but also help the growth of Indian football within that certain time of exposure on the pitch, off the pitch. Our nearest airport to where I lived was 3.5 hours by bus. So the travel, the facilities, everything about it, and the food was incredible. I actually today sent a video to Farooq Chudari from Karan Amin, who play in India, Indian international Farooq is. It's his birthday coming up tomorrow. I have really strong relationships with the league, with the club. And that's what I embraced. Living in China, living in India, the culture, the religion, the people, learning that there's so many different Indian languages inside that place. And I loved it. And the key element here is being a global ambassador for the 2022 World Cup for Qatar. I get to still be involved in helping deliver programs, grassroots. It helps when I write children's books. But I really appreciated how they welcomed me. They treat me like one of the family. and I'll never forget it and always be a part of me. So this is all part of being in the Asian group, qualifying. This is all part of my experiences, and now helping the growth of different leagues around the world is so important to me.
And of course, you talked about, of course, the grassroots level as well. And we have another follow-up question from online, from Peter Silva, talking about what can you say about the talent in football at the grassroots level in India?
It's fantastic. And the key element is when you go into a club and you go to work in schools, is just working on the fundamentals. It doesn't matter where we are in the world, India, China, anywhere, Australia. When you work with young kids, is teaching them the mobility skills, ladders, hurdles, left foot, right foot, touching a ball, catching, throwing, all these different elements. So I very quickly really enjoyed doing these processes and sharing it, but also with my teammates. So I'm someone that works through actions. After a game, if I don't play longer than 45 minutes, I might go to the gym midnight, and players look at me and say, what are you doing? I might just wake my trainer up and I say, let's go do a gym circuit. On my day off, I might just do a light bike and a swim. And people are thinking, but it's our day off. And you create a mindset. Can you do more? The kids at home, what are they doing now? They're at home watching me live. Can you do some sit-ups? Can you get stronger? Are you allowed to juggle the ball just on your patio, not in the house? There's always little elements within inside that of helping. And what I did as a kid to share these things that made me better, and also made people around me better.
And of course, a lot of people really are commenting online now. The questions just keep coming. So we'll focus a bit more on some of their questions, of course, because this is their chance to get to know more about you. Another one is from Satish Kumar, a cricket mad nation with a population of more than 1.3 billion people. What more can be done to lift the game in India and possibly see more talents playing abroad?
Kaise ho, Satish? So I just said, how are you? It's great what's happening in India, because even now the ISL is on. They're doing it in a bubble. They're signing good players. They're investing. I've always said the way to make your players better is by playing more games. More games. The more you play, the more repetition, the more training sessions, the more international exposure. And this is important because when I went to England at 16, I was training twice a day. So if we're at home now and we play for our local club, we train twice a week, we play one game a week. A season's probably only 20 games. By the time I hit Premier League, I was playing 40 to 60 games a year. I finished my career now with over 700-800 games over a 20-year span. That's international traveling. So it's not about looking for faults. It's about finding solutions, and solutions for every country, wherever we are, if we can play more games and we can get more competition. And unfortunately, people talk about winning and losing. It's definitely a massive implementation into the way people think, and they think that no one should lose. But also learning how to lose is just as important as learning how to win, because either way, you need to learn how to do these things. So I think more games, more competition, more international exposure will help the growth of many countries, not just India.
Definitely. Coming from a developing nation myself, from the Philippines, of course, the same thing. I really agree with that. The more we can get more people to play, really, the more the players can really develop. And let's take that jump from India to Australia. You have a question from June Tan. In your opinion, what are the things that the A-League is lacking to reach the Premier League level?
Possibly just what I spoke about now. I think one thing leagues shouldn't do around the world is compare. You can't. You look at TV rights, businesses, all the stuff, commercial sponsors, there's no comparisons with money and exposure. But the good thing about Australia, there's 10, 11 or 12 teams within the league. They play each other 2 times. They've got to expand the number of games. They've got to get a structure underneath that has first team, maybe reserve team, 18s, 16s, 15s, 14s, 13s, 12s, all the way down, and you have to filter through, and then players, boys and girls, can see the end goal. They can see, to play for the first team, I've got to play in the reserve team, and if the reserve team manager plays me and I play well, then my first team manager will move me up, and if I don't play well, I have to stay here or I have to change clubs. So I think it's structure. I think it happens over a long time, and I feel that I played in the A-League. I loved it. Scored, a lot of goals there, amazing times, good energy with the fans, and it was different. It was a different feeling, but I pretty much look for solutions. I don't really look at many negatives within football after retiring, because now understanding more about it and being more mature about football, it's helped me really to focus on solutions.
Definitely. That's such a great mindset. And let's go back to you for a moment. As we talked about earlier, that you've played in England, US, China, Australia, India. Personally, how are you able to maintain your form and keep playing at a high level, despite, of course, that changing environments, having to adjust depending on where you play?
Simple. You have to have in your mindset why you're going to China or why you're going to India and what you're going to do there. What are the purposes? Is it to play in another World Cup? Is it just for lifestyle? Is it because you want something new? So China was amazing. Living in Shanghai, Shenhua, Hangzhou, Greentown, the clubs I played for, the exposure. It was at a time where they had some of the biggest contracts in the world. We had just won the Asian Cup, and Tevez was there after, Drogba was there before me. I played with Demba Ba, Momo Sissoko. We had some really massive talents. My good friend now, Fellaini from Manchester United, is playing out there as well. So I think when you make these moves, I wanted to play in two of the biggest continents in the world. I wanted to. China and India were always on the box, because I knew when I retired, if I learned and understood the emotions and attitudes and playing with players that couldn't speak English, but I could still affect the league and affect the team and affect people in business, commercial, in football, that it would help me after. Being in the Asian group, I've gained a lot of respect traveling to the Middle East, now working with the Qatar national team in the youth levels, 16s, helping them progress. Knowledge, helping me with my coaching license now, which I'm heavily into the final stage of my badges. So I've looked at things differently. Maybe other players have got different aspects, different things, but at the same time also, I have to be realistic with my body. What can my body give back? If towards the back end of my career, I was just a striker. I played in the final third, and I tried to stay disciplined to score goals. So when my country needed me, I needed the ball delivered in areas with inside the 18-yard box that I could score and make a massive impact. And it's all through preparation, through analysis, and for being efficient and using my body better. And in the end, it's been really rewarding, but also a massive education for myself as well.
Definitely. And I think that you still continue to grow and learn up to this day. And, we want to ask you, especially since, as you said, you've played for so many clubs, out of all the clubs that you've played for, which one is your favorite?
This is so difficult because there's so many different ones, but I've had two clubs that were so amazing. Millwall for my apprenticeship, for believing in me and for starting the dream. I'll always be indebted to Millwall. The second club is Everton. This is part of my life. This is something still to this day. I speak to the chairman, whether it's a text after a game, whether it's me going into the club on a weekly basis or once a month. It's about family. This was family. The elements of countries and other places that I've played, this was experience. This is something where if I go to China, I'm welcome. If I go to India, I'm welcome. If I go to Australia, I'm welcome. So I look at it as the first basis of my career was my dream. The second basis was the development. And I'm indebted to all the clubs that played a part in for me being who I am today and helping create my legacy and also my portfolio of a decent career.
Definitely. That's such an interesting aspect, hearing about all of that. And, Tim, as a football player, not everything is highs, in anyone's life, or even for yours as a football player. I'm sure you've had your own sets of ups and downs. Can you take us through some of the injuries that you went through, and how did you overcome having those kinds of adversities?
Probably the worst things that's happened in my footballing career has been the biggest learning curves and the most influential part of my my growth. I've broke both fifth metatarsals in both feet, so I have pins in each foot like this. On my right foot, I had an osteotomy where they had to re-break the bone. And I basically, very early on, I used to, go home back to Australia, and I was saying to my parents, like, crying, oh, I don't want to go back. I'm injured. I'm by myself. And these are the elements where you get tested mentally, physically, and then you turn into a mindset of the why you're there, the reasons why you sacrificed, your family, your parents, the small detail that nobody sees. So my cruciate, my knee, right now I've got no posterior in my right knee. I still run, I still train, and I still stay very fit till this day. So the elements is if it was easy, everyone will be doing it. Trust me, everyone will be professionals, and we won't have to go do other things. But I really took time in school to be the best I could be. I wasn't the best at maths. I'm very good at English, and I loved history, and I loved drama. And so I decided when I retired to go back to, I did a course at Harvard, which helped me. And that's why I keep saying that not everyone's going to make it, but the tough times of injuries, cruciates and all this sort of stuff, it tests you mentally, but it also tests you on the reason why you're playing and why you're going to continue to keep those levels. So I always like to make sure that the boys and girls listening understand why they're playing. If it's just for love and passion and they just want to kick around and have fun, that's amazing. Like for you, you've played for your country for 10 years, the Philippines, you're an ambassador yourself. You carry a real responsibility for girls and to be that aspect of it. And I would always ask them, find your why and you'll never stop doing it.
That's very inspiring, most especially for all of our viewers to hear. And there's actually a very interesting question that came out. Let's take a break first from the football career, and of course you wrote books, so we have a question from Natasha Lopez. What was or is the main motivation and intention behind the Tiny Timmy series of books?
Great question. I've got them here just in case, because I wrote an autobiography. And my autobiography was for older kids, adults. And then I've got 4 children. So I've got 3 boys and a girl. And basically my whole career, they've shared my journey. And what I thought is how can I put into layman's terms for kids my journey, So like here's one of my books that I just brought out. And this is called Playing Up, right? This is my whole career. I've played above my age, right? All these things is real life, making the grade. It's all real life, but it's what happened. I had to make the grade. So I'm a so-called soccer superstar, but why? So this is sort of like my autobiography. The new coach. I had to deal with new coaches throughout my career. That's Tiny Timmy with Coach Roach and all the characters. My children are in this book. My children are in these books. Sienna, Kaya, Shay, Cruz. This is Tiny Timmy going on tour. And one of the most amazing books that I don't have here now is the one that I wrote with my daughter, where I'm holding her hand because she's given me the inspiration to help young girls, Women's World Cups, to follow their dreams and create different aspects. So when I got my big break, everyone's going to get their big break. Who knows when it's going to be? And the most important one, because this is all of us, the new kid. So every story has an element of something I've felt that is personal to me, but I also know that it's a little inclination to how kids feel, their emotions, their attitudes. So when you look at the colors, when you touch it, you feel it, you open the pages, the kids can color in the pictures, they can draw on it, they can, I basically implemented my kids being young, and this is over a long period of time, and my next book's coming out, and I write things that have cryptic meanings, maybe, that's happened in my career. So it's so special because it's not just about boys, it's about girls. I was the ambassador for the Women's World Cup, the last one. The next World Cup's in Australia. I'm very close with a lot of the girls that have moved to England from the national team. And we have to build these foundations for boys and girls. And I focus on young kids because I just feel I am that young kid. And it's a way for me to share that journey.
That's those books really, I can't wait to get a hand on some of them. It's great to see how you make your impact and make sure that you reach out to everyone else, making sure that football really is inclusive for everyone. And let's go back a bit to your football career and your experience with Australia. Of course, you're one of the best. I don't think I have enough time to put down all your achievements with them, but let's stick to one that you are holding the title of the leading goal scorer for Australia with 50 goals. What is it like to be considered a legend, playing, of course, such an impactful role for your country?
It's a pleasure because it's one thing playing well, because you have to play well for your club to be selected for your national team. But every time I crossed that white line and got to sing the national anthem, I knew it was an opportunity to represent 28, 30 million people from Australia. I'm a very passionate, emotional guy when it comes to representing my country because I always put my country before my clubs. Every manager knew it. It's probably something potentially people could say it was my weakness because of levels and what was expected. But I've had some of the most amazing times. World Cups, Asian Cups, Olympic Games, sharing this, my whole family have been to every single tournament with me. And it's a great responsibility, being the go-to guy. When you flick the telly on, when you play against Australia and Tim Cahill's in the lineup, you fear the fact that if you give me a chance in the air or around the box, that potentially I'm going to score. And 50 goals is just a reflection of my dedication to my country.
And of course, speaking of those 50 goals, we have an interesting question from Kenneth Ang. How did the goal celebration of shadowboxing around the corner flag come about?
This is amazing because I've got a really close friend in Archie Thompson from Australia. Everyone can look. His first ever celebration was like a kung fu one, and he kicked the flag afterward. And I seen him do it in an international game. I think it could have been in London. I can't remember who we were playing. And I said, you know what? I reckon I can add a little bit of flair to that. I choreographed it, just with a bit of spice. I like boxing training. And I scored against Sunderland, 90-something minute. And it was just a little left, right, a little duck, and then a hook. And it stuck. And it's so amazing because in 3 World Cups, Asian Cups, everywhere around the world, any league that I've played in, if I drive past a kid or I go to a school or if I'm in town or China, anywhere, someone will just go like this. You don't realize the impact that you've made till after you retire. I just took it for granted, afterwards, how amazing that little touch was. So, yeah, the celebration's special to me. And it's sort of like a little trademark. So, yeah, it's amazing.
And of course, as we talk about that national team experience, what was your most memorable experience with the Socceroos?
Yeah, that's not fair because that question is so many. 4 World Cups, qualifying. I'm 40 years old now, and I still pinch myself that I've been able to score 5 goals in 3 World Cups. I've been able to win an Asian Cup. I've been able to score some amazing goals. It's hard because you don't process. I'm not processing it right now. I'm I'm understanding the question, but thinking about it, it's like you have to go back and really think hard to what you've achieved. So I like what I've left. I've liked what I've left for the game. I like the fact that people really appreciate my dedication to the game. But I think I can't beat being the first ever goal scorer for Australia in a World Cup. I nearly forgot.
Definitely. That's one of those highlights as well when we talk about all your accomplishments for Australia. And of course, we have another question as well from Benson Lim. You have scored many of your goals with your head by having that adept heading ability and high vertical leap. How can we put into practice for our youths in our clubs and academy?
Beautiful. Okay, real quick lesson now on how to head a ball. First thing is open your eyes. Open your eyes. Don't close your eyes. Don't be scared of the ball. The ball will never hurt you. Head with the forehead. Second part of the lesson is the goal doesn't move. So you already know where the goal is. You're heading with the forehead. Your eyes are open. If it's wet, head the ball down so the ball can skid. If it's dry, head the ball in the air. Always look for the corners. So that's really quick and a way that I teach younger kids. And then I advance as it progresses, and we talk about crossing and timing of runs and losing a player and runs. But they're all the elements of coaching. So forehead, open your eyes, goal doesn't move, good contact, low if it's wet, in the air if it's dry.
And of course, that's very, even I'm going to take that into account. I'll make sure to write a note on that. And, Tim Cahill, for the longevity of your career really is exceptional. As you've mentioned yourself, you've played in 4 World Cups and scored in 3 of them. As someone who has literally done it all, I think you're the perfect person to ask for this question. But what habits does a player need to build to be able to stay and play the game as long as possible?
Important thing for kids is what you eat. What you eat is so important for your energy and the output of what you're going to deliver on the pitch. So if that's running up and down the pitch because you're a box-to-box midfielder, if that's small sprints, the food is so important to that. Second part of that is your sleep. Do you get 7 hours minimum? Do you get 9 hours maximum? Do you think about what time you go to bed and what time you wake up? And then your training program. So for me, I teach my kids that if you can't make your own bed and clean up after yourself, or to help your mum or dad, or to appreciate cleaning your own boots after we spend so much time and money buying them, then you're not going to be a footballer. There's talent, and then there's people that work hard. So for me, I really like effort. I like that sort of mentality that you if you make your bed, try and do more. Always try and do more in every effort. It's not just finish your homework. Can you do more? And they're traits that you'll find on the football pitch. You won't just then win a tackle for me. You win a tackle for your friend. You'll pick up the second ball. You'll run that little bit harder to defend. And they're behaviors that I learn within my training sessions and the way that I give them and the way that I coach. So there's some real strong elements, and discipline for me is number one.
Definitely. And of course, as you talk about that, we have a question as well from Jackie Chu. How do you think we can motivate, of course, more kids on the junior soccer to cultivate their interest?
By having fun. Focus on fun and inclusion. Focus on everyone being a part of it. As things progress, then you can make it more difficult with the exercises. But the key element is to get people outside is they need to score goals. They need to play. They need to have the same touches of the ball. Everyone needs to probably start with their own ball. If a kid joins the game and he doesn't want to be a part of it, then he can hold the coach's hand and help them be a coach. You can give him a bib. You have to be creative. You have to think like a child, and you have to think about what they want. So that for me is really important. Are you there? Hello? Hello.
Sorry, got disconnected there for a moment as it's been raining here as well. So a
Same
little
here.
bit of rain. And for some reason that affects our Wi-Fi as well, as you were saying, of course. And we have another question as well regarding the S League, the Singapore League. Have you heard about it, and what are your thoughts about it?
I think the main thing is every league within the world. Everyone always says, how can we improve the S League, the ISL, the Indian League, the A League? I think that the elements within it is the professionalism. How professional can you have your setups? How professional is the training? Are all the elements there for the players to be the end product to produce for the fans? And I feel for that, you can only build on those bases. So the training elements, the coaching, the players, and making sure that the growth of the players within your own country are reaping the benefits of that maybe international flair, or the coaching, or the players, and that side of it. But yeah, it's pretty much the same everywhere. But people look at as leagues not being better than the others. But I really think that everyone should focus on their own path and then how they can bring growth without comparing.
Definitely. And, Tim, as we continue to talk to you and really just the impact that you've had on the sport in general, we know for sure that your impact on football will not end in your playing career. So as everyone would like to know, of course, what is next for Tim Cahill?
It's been nearly a year and a half now being retired, maybe a bit longer. And I've taken a big element into helping my kids follow their dreams. So my oldest boy is in the academy in Spain for Leganes, under 18s. My 15-year-old boy is at Everton, signed professionally. And on that journey, so supporting my kids, my daughter's playing for Accrington Stanley. She's 13, so it's a team that's just started, but in the league. My youngest boy's 8, and he's enjoying school and also playing a little bit here and there. But I spent 20 odd years playing, traveling, dedicated to football, and them sacrificing a lot for me. So I've taken a little step back, studying. I'm on my UEFA Pro license now. I'm learning out of Qatar national team and also at Everton within the academy, and hopefully other areas, and doing a lot of TV with a lot of big personalities, big networks, and learning more about the game and being at Premier League games live. So yeah, that's the next stage for Tim. But eventually, hopefully, coaching, and we'll see where it takes me. But the process is first on my wife and kids.
That's very interesting to see, of course, where else you'll take your career. And we still have time, so we want to answer a couple of questions from our fans as well. Another question that Jundan had is, able to share your thoughts on that 2011 Asian Cup final 0-1 defeat on Japan during the extra time goal?
Literally, I remember that game. I had a problem with my knee, a few other players strapped up. I basically should never have lasted as long as I did. But we were really confident. We felt we had a massive chance to win that game. And we remember the goal we conceded. I can't remember, it was a volley late on. It was just devastating because we got so close yet so far away. And that's where you use that heartache, that heartbreak into the next Asian Cup, and winning it in Australia and turning it into a positive. So I remember Japan, amazing players, big talent, strong, physical. They definitely mixed it with us, and in the end, they were too good.
And of course, we had one more question from one of our fans, Nang Sowi. You or Calvert-Lewin?
I'm Calvert-Lewin. He's a great player. He's a great player. It's good to see him scoring, but he's still young. He's got so much ahead of him. I think now for him as a player, it's just about finding consistency. He can head a ball, which is great. But yeah, he's had an amazing start to the season, and a long may it continue, because we need it so Everton can finish in the top 4.
And of course, Tim, for this Singa Cup community and this event that we're having, what is your message really to the young players that want to follow your footsteps and pursue a career in football?
I think it's amazing. I think it's the 10-year anniversary. The amount of kids that's been through this Singer Cup, 600 teams, 11,000 players, officials. The key element for me is everything's about enjoying it, right? But being part of this, there's a competition element and there's so many different ways to learn. I think it's preparation. Kids want to follow their dreams, and the direction that you take implements into your everyday work. How you are when you wake up, how you are with your family, your parents, appreciating the lifestyle that you have, and then them helping you to build that. So if you want to be a professional or you want to be good at work, then there's no difference. Prepare, put the effort in, hard work, and part of being a professional is suffering. And I don't know what that is for each person. For me, it's sacrificing maybe not going to school discos because I have to prepare for the game. There's always different elements. So follow your dreams, be positive, be confident, and always remember that it's good to help each other out and take people on the journey with you.
Very inspiring. And, we still actually have more questions. People just keep typing them up, and we hope that you're still game to answer some more. This one is from Richard Tan. If you were asked to select a 5-a-side team for a game, who would be in your team?
I'll do with players that I've played with. Thierry Henry up front, Mikel Arteta next to me in the midfield. Probably Phil Neville, very close friend as well, at the back. And in goal, we'll put Tim Howard from Manchester United. I know that every other player would probably pick Mbappe, Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi. And the goalkeeper, wow, that's a hard one. Probably Neuer. So there you go. Not a bad 5-a-side, 2 5-a-side teams. You back? Hello?
It's still typhoon season here in the world. So the entry is just getting up there. Tim, we'd like to ask you, of course, one more question.
No problems.
Of course, yes. It's just that, I guess, your last message to being able to be a part of the Singer Cup.
It's an absolute pleasure to be a part of the Singer Cup because to share my journey, to share some experiences, not only on the park but off the park. I hope that there's something small that you can take and something you can remember forever. And I hope through social media you follow my journey. I can answer more questions later on and still be a part of this Singer Cup experience in the future. So my job is to help you follow your dreams, and if not, just to have fun. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much for the time that you took out here to be able to spend with us, to inspire players. Really, thank you so much. And we hope you the best in all your future projects.
Thank you, Natasha. You too. All the very best for you as well.
This is the place I call home.
Our home. This is where we live amongst trees and carve them out of metal. Where impossibilities lead us to endless possibilities. This is where all that you're passionate about, all that drives you, is made possible. This is where passion is made possible.